Michigan State. Wow. I'm going to come out here and say it. So yes, it revealed on the ACC preview that I was on the Florida State under last year, and it was pretty embarrassing. But I will be the first person to tell you, and Christopher will be the first person to confirm it, that I was all over this Michigan State under last year after Mel Tucker's rise to supremacy the year before. And it was not even a sweat. This team very much underperformed last year, right? Which is crazy. Tells you how good Walker was for them at running back, which is like you don't see running backs taking over college football games too often, but like he literally did. So Peyton Thorne, passing efficiency wise, it was not enough for this team. Now, granted, that's a lot of snaps at quarterback that you lose. And he had the talent to be good, and he wasn't. And then that talent, what do? They leave. Jaden Reed goes to the NFL to the Packers in the second round. Keon Coleman transfers out of there to Florida State. That's a possible like late day one, early day two guy that could be taken. No, that's ceiling projection, right? That's not based on previous production, but the offense is looking really questionable. And like you're asking me, oh well, did they at least fix their offensive line? I don't
No.
know about that. So, and this defense, they were not very good last year. I mean, you can see points per game, 27.4. But if you look at their yards per attempt, 4.3, that's not great. Yards per attempt passing wise, they let up 7.9. Their secondary was horrible last year. Horrible. And I already mentioned that I already took Washington -11 when they go to town to play Michigan State because of that secondary. Because they got one dude from the transfer portal, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on this team? Over-unders at 5.5, a year removed from Mel Tucker winning 10 games and beating Michigan. It's at five and a
Yeah,
half.
how far have they fallen? Yikes. They don't even think they're going to make a bowl game. I think it's a great line. I don't if they could win 5.5 games, I think they would. I don't they're going to get about as close as they can to making a bowl game and probably won't, which is why I probably lean the under, but I wouldn't bet it ever. Peyton Thorne, no, interesting. Going to Auburn, who knows if he'll win the job there. But he didn't really have the starting job won in Michigan State. He was going to have to compete against Noah Kim and Caden Hauser there. So I don't think he had that wrapped down at all. Their running backs, nothing special. Wide receiver, nothing special. O-line, bad. Average at best. The thing is they've been bad forever, and it's the same guys that have been there. So like they haven't progressed, which is the sad part because you think, okay, fine, if we have a bad offensive line one year, but they're all young guys, 3-4 years on the line, they'll be pretty good. No, it's the same guys and they're still terrible. So at this point, it's like I don't have any confidence in them getting better. Defense, they made 2, maybe 3-ish transfer portal additions. I like Samar Melvin from secondary is fine. He can step in and play corner. Nobody else there you like.
Fine.
Tanmiz Adelele is pretty good too. I liked him at A&M a lot. Going to play the edge rusher, defensive end for them. He can move inside and out too. Maybe 3 technique if you bulk him up on pass rushing downs. And then maybe Dre Butler, stuff in the run. But I mean, I don't know. I don't see it with this team. Nothing gets me excited. I'm kind of like, what's Mel Tucker doing? We talked about this earlier where it's like with David Stone, what does he have to do to keep his job if he wins 5 games next year? He's got to have a monster recruiting class, before he gets put on the hot seat. I think people are going to start getting real frustrated with him real fast with that huge contract and not a lot of production coming. And the Big Ten not getting any easier, with USC and UCLA coming over.
Yeah, we were calling Mel Tucker the transfer portal god just a season ago, and finished as 34th in transfer portal rating or rankings. And he needed to do. This was the year that he needed to do well in the transfer portal, and he did not. He did not.
Yeah, and it's not hard. I get it. It's easier said than done, whatever. But they have good NIL there, and they have positions of need everywhere, up and down the roster. You're telling me that there wasn't a single position that you feel locked down about? No, every guy in that roster is so replaceable. So they could have gone anywhere and just tried their best. And I'm sure they did with Mel Tucker. He's a big time recruiting guy and with the transfer portal, but nothing there gets me excited.
Uh, yeah, this is a play for me. This is an under. Um, barely. I'll say barely a play for me because actually, I'll tell you why I'm playing the under. The schedule is really, really tough. Okay. One, when you play in the Big Ten East, you got to play Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Sure. That goes without saying. Whatever. Your West draw actually is pretty tough. You go to Iowa, right? You go to Minnesota, and then you get a home game against Nebraska, right?
To Minnesota in late October, which is not easy to play in. It'll be cold by then. Trust me.
Nope. So I mean, and Nebraska, yeah, they're lucky that they get Nebraska at home. So I'm going to say, but Nebraska by week 10 with that entirely new team could be tuned up. And then how can I forget Washington? Right? I mean, come on. I just named. That's yeah. I haven't even mentioned Maryland yet, which is also another tough game. At Rutgers could be pretty interesting as well. So how many teams did I just go through where it's just like questionable losses? Like, and if they didn't get better on the offensive line, they didn't get better in the secondary. They lost all of their talent on the offense. I watched their spring game, and I'll tell you about their offensive talent. I'll tell you how bad it is because of how much little separation they got against that secondary, right? Noah Kim, he's played a limited time, right? He's gotten some snaps in game. He's actually done well in game when he's played with really good talent. But now he doesn't have that talent. He doesn't have a good offensive line. He looked really bad in the spring game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And of course, Michigan State has been waiting for Caden Hauser, right? Their highly rated 4-star quarterback to be good. He's just not ready. Yeah, if you watch the spring game at all, now it's one game. Yada, yada, yada. I'm going to have people, we're going to hear from people being like, oh, don't judge a whole team based on their spring game. But sometimes it says things, and it tells me that this offense is not ready to do anything. It might be rated one of my worst offenses in the Big Ten. Their defense, again, their secondary, I don't love. I do love Tunmise Adeleye or Adelie, sorry. But I had to go under on this. I got to stick with it. I don't think Mel Tucker's the guy. I don't think he is. But look, I'm still rooting for the guy. Maybe I just won't be rooting for him this year. I root for his success in the future, but maybe not this year. If you could just win 5 games for me, right, and like be on the hot seat next year and then ball out. Look, Mel, you and I could be friends, right? You and I could be friends. So, any last thoughts on this team?
I think after week 2, I don't see a for sure win. I mean, yeah, we talked about Indiana earlier. We don't love Indiana at all. There's a reason their over-unders at 3.5. But
we don't know what they're going to look like.
By week 12, by week 12, you never know with all those transfers coming in. At least they tried to make a change. Mel Tucker,
yeah.
They didn't make a huge change, and I don't think you're going to see this a much improved result with the same roster you had last year, with a less talented roster than last year. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I think after they get beat down by Washington, who knows with Maryland, Iowa. I mean, you could be really, really, I don't know, 3-7 come Indiana time, and you could be a defeated roster. You could lose that game very easily, and then you got to finish with Penn State.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
they lost to Indiana last year, and I already mentioned this in the Indiana portion of this. That was such an ugly game. Oh my God. How do you lose to Indiana when they only complete 1 pass in regulation? It was so bad. It was so bad. And I don't think this team gets any better. So give me the under. I know you leaned over, right?
I pushed, but I lean under a little bit.